All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Purple Friday Show. This is episode 204. Obviously, the Ravens had a bye week. I am off vacation. I do not have the tropical background I had last week. I'm back at the bank, so back at work.
Mm-hmm.
They had off all week. We didn't really hear the news. I think there was some Zach Ertz stuff floating around, but I don't think he's even picked the team yet at this point. Shaq Leonard was out there. There were some rumors maybe he could be a Raven. No, who else did he go to? The Eagles. Eagles sign everybody off the waiver. I don't know how it happens, but they are able to sign anyone, whoever they want to, on that waiver wire. I don't know what Howie Roseman does. From other GMs that have said it, they were like, "Don't get on the phone with him. He will make you trade your best player to him." I don't know how he does it, but they were like, "This man is probably one of the best like wheelers and dealers in football. He just is." And I got Shaq Leonard. They need him though. After that,
Yeah.
after that debacle that defense went through,
Shellac.
we'll get right to that debacle that defense went through. I guess we'll just start there. The 49ers against the Eagles. Did you? I said I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers win this game.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even that it's how they won the game. When Debo, I think Debo has been talking pretty much all season since the end of last season. After the game, saying, "Look, if Brock Purdy was healthy, I wouldn't have won that game. We would have been in the Super Bowl. That should have been us in the Super Bowl, not y'all." He was saying it from week one. Every week, Debo on his mind has been thinking about this game all year. Since February, he's been thinking about this game.
Mm-hmm.
Going to Philly, it's cold, Sunday night game. So 4:00 game, roughly. But he goes off for like 100 and something yards, 80 yards, 3 touchdowns. There's 2 runs that he has single-handedly where he like is brushing off people, running past dudes and stuff, getting to the end zone. I think they showed he wore black Air Forces to the game. Like he was
He's a full force.
No.
the way it looked too, the way the 49ers defense, it looked like a lot like the Ravens defense against the Chargers, where they were hitting them. They were hitting the Eagles too. I think the last significant play I saw, I can't remember who it was, but it was Swift was running the ball, and he got rocked. He got rocked and got leveled, and he had trouble getting up off the field, and that was like the last exclamation point on that game. Effectively making the 49ers the best team in football. Look, and I'm a Ravens fan. Right now, with how they dismantled the Dallas Cowboys back in week 4, week 5, and what they've done to the Eagles, to arguably the 2 best teams, to the top 5 best teams in the NFL, and beating the crap out of them.
Yeah.
If the 49ers are healthy and on, I don't know how you beat them. I just don't right now. Now, they did say the one issue they do have is that they struggle against mobile quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts was there, but they didn't really use him like that. We saw it in the last game when they went in overtime and Jalen Hurts, runs the ball in for a quarterback draw. But it's some of that stuff. I think that happened. What I'm starting to see now in the NFL, especially some of these coaches, that if they're these teams that are used to being ahead, right? They're used to being up. The moment they get behind, they start forgetting everything that worked for them in the past. Like Harbaugh, I know especially, and Monken and whoever the offensive coordinator has been there has done this notoriously. They'll be down by 6 points, stop running the football. They'll stop doing quick slants. They'll stop doing everything that worked. The defense starts giving up big plays. They stop getting to the quarterback, and it's like, guys, you're only down by a score. But they feel like now they have to overcompensate for now being behind. We got to get back now in the next 3 minutes. We can't take the next quarter and a half to get back. And it's like, I saw that in the Eagles 49ers game. Nick Sirianni just stopped in the offensive side of the ball, just stopped doing what was good. DeAndre Swift barely ran the ball in that game. At one point, it was still pretty close at the end of the first half. It wasn't until that second half, then the 49ers opened it up on them.
Right.
But yeah, look, I give all credit to Brock Purdy had played a hell of a game. He's being talked about now in MVP candidacy now. Chris McCaffrey had a day himself. George Kittle was used in the first half. You didn't really see him again in the second half. And that's what makes this even crazier is that the 49ers can turn on and turn off guys when they need to. Pause. When they need to change like how the game is going, right? So they're using McCaffrey and Kittle in the first half, and then they're like, all right, Debo, you just run this 40-yard run, a reverse play or whatever pitch play, and just go on for a touchdown. And then when you're Brock Purdy, you got a Debo Samuel that can, I think he averaged 19 yards a play. Debo did in that game, 19 yards a play. That's insane. It's nuts. What did you guys, comments on this?
Man, I was since 425 hit, man, I was glued to this game. This is one of the games where I was looking forward to for a few weeks now, actually, just because we kind of knew what it was going to be or what it was supposed to be. And that's the top two teams in the NFC, possibly top two teams in the NFL at that point, which we thought. And 49ers just kind of flexed on them. I mean, Brock Purdy looked phenomenal in that game. I mean, he threw for what, 314, 4 passing touchdowns, I think. Like you can't really have a better game like that against a team like the Eagles, who pretty much not that they've been dominating in a fashion that they did, in the previous few seasons, but they've still been the top of the NFC. So none of us really expected this, but what it did tell me is that the 49ers just have a lot more to work with. I mean, they have playmakers on all sides of the ball. I mean, we already know what their defense is capable of. They got some help on the line. And the impressive thing was that they didn't even really have to wreck the game with pass rush. I mean, they got like maybe 2 or 3 sacks in that game, but the Eagles just couldn't really make plays, and they had no run game whatsoever. They had under 50 yards rushing the entire game. I mean, that's not going to get it done against a team like the 49ers. Like they could not rush the ball whatsoever. And Jalen Hurts is not like he was a real threat running out of the pocket either. They pretty much had him contained all game. And 49ers just pretty much showed us, which, on paper we already know, but the 49ers showed us like they just have better playmakers on their team. I mean, they have options on options on options. They have a Pro Bowl tight end in George Kittle. They have Debo Samuel, who, when he's healthy, we already know what we're getting from Debo every single game, whether it's him running the ball and him catching the ball. And obviously, him catching the ball is a lot more dangerous than when he's running the ball, because that was ridiculous. Just the performance he had alone was impressive. And then, not to mention, the main guy, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, he literally does what he wants on the football field. And we're talking rushing and receiving as well. So you got two guys in Christian McCaffrey and Debo who pretty much you only need one of them to have a huge game to win the game. You don't even need both of them to go off. And if they both go off, you're going to see something like you saw against the Eagles, and that's 42-19. So that's really what they've shown, is that not only are they the best team in the league, but them at their best is pretty much almost unstoppable, especially if you allow those two to go off the way they did. But as far as like the team, what was just impressive is that, like I said, the 49ers didn't really do too much spectacular defensively in that game. But I mean, everybody kind of did their job, and the Eagles just weren't allowed any big plays. Because if you look at the team stats, they're pretty much similar. I mean, if you look at time of possession, if you look at the number of plays, if you look at the third down efficiency, it's pretty much similar across the board for both teams. It's just that the 49ers were able to make big plays. And for that to be the case on the road in Philly, in that hostile environment, and it's cold outside and you're outdoor, like it is what it is. Like they just kind of pretty much made a statement right there. And I don't really know what to say about the Eagles at this point. I mean, obviously they just had the late signing, and maybe that'll help them. But a Eagles fan of mine said pretty much that's just putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. Like it might not do the trick. So we'll see. But the fact that we got the 49ers coming up on our schedule, I'm sure a lot of antennas went up, not because we didn't know that they were good, but I don't know if we knew that they were this good and capable of, this impressive in a game like that against the Eagles where we thought it should have been a close game. So the fact that Brock Purdy can just kind of turn it on and perform like that in a game where he just throws all them touchdowns and for all those yards on a defense like the Eagles, like it's just crazy for it to be an away game and that be the performance and the turnout. So yeah, impressive win for the 49ers, man. Got nothing bad to say about them.
The Eagles are exposed, man. That's my takeaway. They're exposed. The things we've been saying all year, like where they look shaky. I mean, they're still shaky against the run. They're super, super suspect against the pass, and that came to fruition. Like when you look at a great offensive coaching staff pick apart a team with numerous defensive weaknesses.
Yeah.
And that was my takeaway from the game. Yes, the 49ers are a really good team. I'm not going to say they're the best team in the NFL until we play them, but they were able to exploit it. Like that is what a team and a coaching staff should do when they go against a team that has been getting by despite glaring big weaknesses. You get your guys in space, you put them in positions to succeed. You're creative and you keep that defense off balance. That's the key to it. And we saw a masterclass in play calling by the 49ers. They have a lot of weapons like Debo. Debo looks great. Christian McCaffrey's looked great all year. Brock Purdy, I still don't know what to make of this guy. Some weeks I'm like, okay, he's good, but I think he's a system guy. This past weekend, I was like, oh man, he may be something. He may have a little Brady in him. Not greatest of all time, but a little Brady. But overall, I just think what I took away from this game was that the Eagles are not the team that was 10-1. That was a sham. And I think they're going to continue to get exposed. I think the 49ers are the favorites to come out the NFC at this point. I'm jumping completely off the Eagles bandwagon of coming out of the NFC. I totally believe if the 49ers can stay healthy, that they can definitely take it all the way to the Super Bowl and lose to the Ravens. But yeah, they did what they had to do. I mean, they have a great offensive coaching staff. Yeah. I mean, they've been able to make it with so many different QBs and be effective. So I if anything, what I want to take away from it is the Ravens coaching staff needs to take notes. Take notes. That's what you do in a football game when you're playing a good team. So,
and they were talking about the first two drives I think the Eagles had, and they had opportunities to score touchdowns on those two drives, and I think they either kicked the field goal and they punted on another one. And a lot of people were like that against the 49ers or what they were doing to you. Knowing that kind of game, like you need to score touchdowns on those drives, at least one. You got to at least have 10 points on the board, something like that. Because once they, reneged on both of those opportunities and the 49ers went up, that was pretty much game. That was pretty much game at that point. And the 49ers didn't look back after that. Once they got up and got ahead, they played like it. And they were making a good point was like, like you said, Travis, I don't know what to make about Brock Purdy. And, I think Brock Purdy is like another Alex Smith type quarterback. Like he's going to make the throws that he's going to make. It helps when you got guys like McCaffrey and Kittle and Debo when they can throw a 5-yard pass and they can take it 40 yards upfield, when you got like crazy yak yardage, and it's, it makes it a lot easier. But they were saying if you're on offense, you got to put the pressure on Brock Purdy, right? Force Brock Purdy, like make him throw the football, right? Make him have to make a mistake, And Kyle Shanahan's been prone to it too. He could make mistakes if they have to play from behind. So, but they lost that opportunity, and let's say it definitely had a playoff game and a feel to it, right? Yeah. It had felt one of those things where it's like if you don't take hold of this game right now, you're going to lose it, and that's what it felt like. Once the 49ers went up, it was a wrap from there. Now, what did you get you guys take real quick on that incident on the sideline between Greenlaw and I guess he was head of security for the Eagles? It was funny that during the game, when they were showing the video again, they only showed it after Greenlaw had put his hand in the guy's face or whatever. It wasn't until later or until after, I think I went on Twitter and stuff and found it later, no, he pushed Greenlaw first, and then Greenlaw went back and like put his hand in his face. So they ejected both of them. But at first, it sounded like they were only going to eject Greenlaw from the 49ers. So I'll give the refs credit for coming back later. Like, nah, you got to go too. They came back later on the side, you got to go. Like, they looked back at it. But it was just kind of funny that how I think on Fox, they were just kind of showing Greenlaw kind of put his hand in front of the coach's face. And look, it made it seem like, oh, yeah, you can't do that, man. You got to go. You got to go. Wasn't until I looked up the rest. Oh, they didn't show the whole video. Where the coach literally put his hand on him and pushed him. I'm like, oh, okay. I'll say this. I'm hoping that's the NFC Championship game. I'm hoping. Yeah. I'm hoping that's the NFC Championship because I want more of that. Like, and the way it sounds is going to probably be in San Francisco. It's going to probably be in San Francisco that game. But if you're the Eagles, you can't. Like, I think they were posting. I don't know if it was a 49ers. Media page or somebody posted like Debo riding the bike through the neighborhood like using Friday and stuff. Like it was like they came in to Eagle Stadium and took the chain. They took it felt like the way the game ended, right? The way it felt like was the Eagles came in with ski masks, right? And black Air Forces. They came in the game, they went into the trophy room, beat up security, took the NFC Championship trophy, and then posted a video saying it's going to be in San Francisco. We want to get this back. Like it's like this was ours to begin with. We had a situation last year where there was one point in the game we didn't even have a quarterback. We had to bring in a guy who already tore his UCL in his elbow, couldn't even lift his arm to throw. Oh. All right, so it was like we know that this is ours. This is really ours. So the 49ers made a statement by saying, you guys want this. If you're proving you're real NFC champs, come get this. Come get this in a few weeks. And that's what it felt like.
Yeah, that Greenlaw situation, that kind of annoyed me a little bit just because, like you said, and the refs are always infamous for getting the second guy and all of that, and they did end up ejecting both of them. But that guy was the Eagles' head of security, so I'm not upset that he got involved or whatever the case may be. But I think they ejected Greenlaw initially because they're like he's a coach or something like that, and you put your hand in the coach's face.
They found out who he was. Oh no, he's got.
Yeah, I don't know if it would have been as serious. And Greenlaw, I thought showed a lot of restraint because
he didn't really hit him. He just kind of.
He initially wanted to punch him in the face.
He did,
but he turned.
That was balled up. He was
turned it into a. I'm gonna just point at you, but just know I was about to knock you out.
Yeah, I think when he realized it wasn't a play. If he had saw a number. If he saw a number, he would have hit him for sure.
Yeah, but I thought the whole situation was corny. Give double personal fouls and just move on with it. Right. Obviously this team has bad blood extended from last season, whatever the case may be. But you don't gotta eliminate. They could have eliminated 5 49ers off that field, and that score was going to be the same that game because it just wouldn't have mattered. But I echo those sentiments, man. It went into Philly. And they growed up their own cheesesteaks, and they did everything they could. They did what Roquan said. What Roquan said when they're in front of their family, their kids, and they just had their way. They just had their way.
Right, yeah. We gonna beat y'all up in front of your family, your wife and kids, man.
Yeah, it was disrespectful, and them knocking out Greenlaw probably hurt them worse because I'm sure.
Oh yeah, it made it. We were only gonna beat y'all by 10, but now we gonna beat y'all by 10.
Destroy y'all.
Yeah, now we got to throw the 40 burger on you. So
right,
yeah.
I don't even know why this is a topic. Like not for us, but like it should have never got to that point. Like you said, this is much to do about nothing. Guy gets in the head of security's face. He interjected himself into the scuffle. So what? I'm gonna say, hey, get out of here. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't that serious. And I think the refs made this a story more than what it was. But I just want to say, it was the spark that changed the momentum in the game for me. Like I felt like it was about to, like the 49ers were about to run through them the rest of the way when that happened. So, I mean, it really shouldn't even been a story. The refs should have laid off. Like it wasn't even that big a deal. Like they weren't on the ground wrestling or truly throwing punches. So, I mean,
they probably got a call from New York and we're like, honestly, I think I really do think because it was in now if it was in San Francisco, it may have been different. But I think because it's in Philly and Philly fans and like, look, I think since that Malice and the Palace situation, a lot of organizations are going to err on the side of caution. They're like, no, we don't want this to get at the point where we can't control it. So I think I don't think it was the refs on the field. I think that was a call from New York. New York was like, no, they both got to go. Like, all right, that's why it took so long. I think if they saw it, like you're right, I think they hand out personal fouls on the coach, personal foul, and green law, keep it moving. But I think they got calls from New York and were like, no, we got to get up out of here. Now, from the crowd standpoint, it felt like, when the coach did it, the Philly crowd was like, yeah, Philly people, they love that. They love that stuff. It was like, getting like that whole like they love that stuff. And it was like it felt like they energized them, but no, you're right, it definitely didn't, because they just came out there and it was, as they said, it turned out to be like the Terrence Crawford Errol Spence fight, right? This hyped up match. There's a hyped up match between two undefeated boxers, and it turns out to be like, nah, one's clearly not on the same level as the other one
at all.
And that's what it was. So I mean, go
ahead. Do y'all think it's because of what happened last week with the Buffalo? Was the Buffalo player in the fans? Remember when the Buffalo player is about to get into it?
He pushed the fans.
It could have been. Yeah, that happened in Philly too. So I mean,
fans is a little bit different.
And that was after the game, right? That was after the game too.
Yeah, it was like at the end of the game, like time was.
They were like walking towards the tunnel, like when I think they were. Yeah, so I'm like, I don't know if it's.
He got under his skin crazy, like he
real
was
crazy.
He was boiling. He was boiling when he walked.
I don't know what he said to that man, but
I'm like, yeah, please,
go put your hands up if you want to.
I'm about to get paid, like
doing you. I got it on camera. I got all these angles.
As soon as you touch me, I'm flying back in my seat. Like you just
right, exactly. Now on the other side, the Cowboys win their game Thursday night against the Seahawks. The only thing I'm going to say about this game was there was one drive, especially where the referees gave the Cowboys a touchdown. I mean, it was like what they call like 3 pass interference calls. One on I can't remember the linebacker's name now. For the Seahawks, he's back there. Bobby Wagner. They called it on him, and everybody's like, "That's not pass interference." Like he got there at the right time to make a play on the ball, and they called it pass interference. There was at least 3. They said there were at least 3 or 4 penalties on that drive that led to first downs.
Yeah,
like because the Seahawks were handling them at one point. They were like had the momentum. They were doing the defense was doing their job, and it was just you could see the cornerbacks like, "What am I supposed? Like, you want me to do?" Like. Like, come on. And so, like, they literally gave the Cowboys a touchdown. Gave the Cowboys a touchdown. Because I was telling some other friends of mine, I was like, they're making sure they lead this up to the Dallas Cowboys Eagles next week, like in 2 weeks. They know what they're doing. They want the Eagles and the Eagles to go into Dallas. Cowboys are on a 14 or 15 game win streak at home. Against battle of the division. Probably it's definitely for the division title, pretty much right here. Mm-hmm. That's what they're doing. They're trying to, now look, Dak did play great in that game. I thought he threw the ball pretty well. I mean, he's up there now. I think right now he's the favorite for the MVP. I only say that because I think the rest of the play in the NFL has been mediocre. The guys you expect, right? Like Pat Mahomes, Lamar's been winning games, but he hasn't been putting up any of those kind of stats. Mm-hmm. Herbert hasn't been good. Allen's been okay. Burrow's hurt. Trevor Lawrence is hurt. Kirk Cousins is hurt. The guys that are usually in the mix aren't playing. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dak Prescott wins this day. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. The Cowboys, they're gonna have to show me something when they play against a viable opponent. I mean, the Seahawks are cool. I'm not saying they're not a viable opponent, but I mean, we allowed 3 points against them. I mean, I know we're good, but it's not like, Seattle, they showed us something early, but they started, trickling off towards the end of the season. That's kind of been their trend the last couple seasons. So we'll see them against the Eagles and see if a different Eagles team shows up next week.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a solid game. Dak's playing out of his mind, but we've seen this before. Mm-hmm. And we've seen him lose the big game. We've seen the Cowboys just lose the big game. This isn't something new. This dates pre-Dak. This dates probably at least 12 to 15 years. Cowboys lose big games. So That's why nobody trusts this team. They're America's team, and just like America, we don't trust them. So I just feel like with this game in particular, the refs were reffing, and the refs have been reffing these past couple weeks. I've seen bad call after bad call. I mean, what was it? The Bills and Eagles game. There was that phantom. No, there was the no call on the pass interference. They ate my man's jersey.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There were some bad games in the Chargers Ravens game that were beneficial.
Was that the Chiefs game? Was that the Chiefs game with the pass interference at the end where dude pretty much ran through the receiver? Was that the Chiefs when he lost?
Oh man, I think I may have missed that.
Yeah, I'm trying to
possibly. Yes, it was in overtime. They played
OT.
Denver.
Lost to Denver. The DB.
Oh yeah, I heard,
he didn't. The receiver had no opportunity to get.
It was a bad throw. Like it was a bad pass, underthrown, and it was
a perfect throw for the situation because Mahomes getting that flag every other time. Like
yeah,
the DB went straight through the receiver's body before the ball was even close.
Yeah, like Corey said, there was one. I think they called a personal foul on the player hitting Mahomes, but they showed the still, and Mahomes is still in bounds when the guy hits him.
Oh, yeah,
but they call personal foul for late hit out of bounds, and it was like.
But they didn't call personal foul when was it Geno Stone or was it I can't remember who rocked?
Yeah, when Geno hit Herbert.
When Geno rocked Herbert last week, they called nothing, and Herbert was
he was out of bounds. He was out of bounds, and they called nothing. So.
They've been a little off these past couple weeks with these calls.
These refs have been reffing, man. It's been
borderline replacement refs.
Yeah. That's but on the good side, I guess for the Ravens, we got like the Browns end up they lost. Browns lost.
Mm-hmm.
Flacco did the Flacco thing. He looked good, decent for most of the game, and then towards the end threw an interception. It's like Flacco does Flacco things. This is what he did in Baltimore the last few years. He would look okay and then make a costly turnover in the fourth quarter. So the Browns lose to the Rams or the Chargers. Lose to the Chargers. This past week, the Bengals lose. Bengals beat the Jaguars.
Browns lost to the Rams, right?
No, they played in LA. That's all I remember.
They played the Rams. Chargers ain't win.
They lost. No, the Chargers. Okay, whatever.
I don't think
Browns lost. Bengals beat the Jags after Trevor Lawrence gets folded up like a lawn chair. Somebody made a good point too about that game as well. Where was the cart? Why was Trevor Lawrence walking all the way back to the locker room? They're like, if you're a franchise quarterback has an ankle injury, why is he walking?
Bad organization.
I don't know if he was trying to I don't know if he was trying to fill out how serious it was on his own, and maybe he denied it or whatever. But it's definitely funnier that they didn't that he didn't offer it.
And the thing is that he's walking from the grass field down the stairs onto concrete, which is even a worse surface to run on. It's a far walk. Like, why is this walk so?
That was the emptiest NFL tunnel I've ever seen.
Right?
Yeah, nothing there.
Staff.
There was and it was bare too, right? There were no signs. There was no color decorations or nothing. It was like this is
a lot.
Yeah, where's the money going, man?
Right.
Where's the budget?
When you look at most NFL teams, they have it team colors or something. It's carpet. Mm-hmm. Usually it's carpet, right? It's a carpet or something for the players to walk down. For the most this looked like the hall. I don't know if you guys remember from Blue Chips. It's like the hallway from Blue Chips. When they're walking down that cold hallway, and there's like no lights. It's just
got a whole swimming pool in the stadium, and they can't get my man a ride.
Yeah, I'm like, come on, man. It's like y'all couldn't afford a cart. You can't afford a cart for
True. Corey said Lamar did do the same walk. He went down steps and went up steps and everything.
Yeah, he did the same.
I forgot about that.
Yep.
That was crazy. I don't know. Maybe sometimes when they get injured, they just be in denial of how serious it is, and they just don't want the object.
Adrenaline and all that stuff, But apparently they said it's only a high ankle sprain. But I mean, he's going to be out for a while. So I mean, their chances are slim right now. That was a game that definitely the Ravens were watching. You know, the Chargers at the time were 8-3, you know, possibly battling for number 1 seed. And they go ahead and they lose that game. The Steelers lose their game to the Cardinals in pathetic fashion after a game where they finally go over 400 yards, you know, and then they go play the Cardinals and James Conner and Mighty Mouse comes in there and beats them up. And it's just like, you know, what's his name? Kenny Pickett injures himself. He's out for the next 4 weeks. That's a good outlook. We all know how these ankle things work. You know, the 4 weeks is a good estimate. He could be out for the rest of the season. Yeah. You know, we thought Lamar was going to come back after 3 or 4 weeks, and he was out for 8. So it was like, you know, it depends how that ankle heals up and everything. But they clearly haven't fixed their woes, because even before Kenny Pickett went out, that offense was atrocious. Yeah. Do you guys think that Mike Tomlin gets his first losing season this year? It looks like it might. It's. I mean, you look thinking about it like it's. Let
me check the record first, because I just want to see.
They're 7-5.
7-5. They don't play nobody for the rest of the year. Like, their schedule is pretty weak. I mean, they can.
Yeah, they got one of the easier schedules.
I think their toughest game might be the Colts and the Seahawks. Oh, and us. So I mean, they definitely got enough, but I think they can probably squeeze out a 500 season. Yeah. I mean, they'll probably still beat the Patriots.
Well, they can't do 500 anymore, right?
They can. They only have to win 9 and 8 or 8 and 9. Yeah.
They can go 9 and 8 or 8 and 9.
Well, they got the Pats, they got the Colts, they got the Bengals. They got the Seahawks, and they got the Steelers. Then they got us. So yeah, I mean,
and the Bengals, the way look,
Jacob Browning, man.
Jake Browning is serviceable. He's serviceable at this point.
He need to go somewhere with that. That boy was looking good.
Yeah,
he was looking good. He got to sit down. He got to chill out.
Yeah, I actually started my fantasy this week. I was like, let me just start him this week. Let's see what happens. He had 3 touchdowns. So I was like, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Can't go wrong with that. What do you got this week? Oh, they got the Colts. So not mad at that.
I think he said the Pro Bowl standings just dropped.
Pro Bowl, the voting or
the first wave of votes.
Oh, okay.
It's looking good for us. Well, looking good on defense.
Geno's up there right now, right?
Geno and Kyle, number 1.
Oh, okay.
At safety. Geno, number 1 in free safety. Number 1, Kyle Hamilton at strong safety. Roquan, number 1 at linebacker. And that's it for us as far as the leading vote getters.
I'm trying to think about offensive.
That makes sense. Only one on offense. I mean, we ain't got no O lineman this year, unless it'd be like
maybe Lamar. I think if Odell continues to play well, he might end up on that list.
Odell?
If he continues to play well. Yeah, just because of the name. If he continues to play well.
The Ravens had the 4th most Pro Bowl votes by team.
Who's the first? The 49ers?
Probably.
Yeah, 49ers, Dolphins, Cowboys, Ravens, then the Eagles.
That's good. The only reason the Cowboys, that's because their fans vote. That's why. It's because of their fans. He said Corey said Linderbaum leads centers. Linderbaum would, yeah.
Linderbaum should.
He said Clowney's 10th right now.
Linderbaum should. I know we had a couple of games where it was looking a little shaky, but for the most part, he hasn't really been allowing any hurries or anything. I think I remember seeing one blunder from him all year.
The leading QB is Tua.
Okay.
But he has the Islanders. The Islanders, they vote. The Pacific
Islanders. Yeah, they will. Because I think Palomalo said that when he was playing. He was like, they come out. They vote. They will have it. So yeah. Okay. I know you guys don't really.
This might be one of the first Pro Bowls that Tuck don't make.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know how many time Pro Bowler Justin Tucker is, but I'm about to check.
At least 7 or 8. I mean, he's been a Pro Bowler since his first season. I think he's at least 7 or 8 times. I mean, if he doesn't make it this year, I know he'll make it the next 4. I think Tuck will be like, all right, like he's gonna get together with whoever the long snapper is now and Stout and be like, look, all right, guys, we're gonna spend like a week together, just working on our cadence, just working on the rhythm down. Like we just
So
because it does feel like Tucker, right? In some of these games, it's taking longer for him to get set and get ready to kick. It feels like
that's true.
It feels like sometimes like it takes a little too like you said, like the clock thing too that Harbaugh's been complaining about, like the play clock's been running either prematurely or whatever when Tuck gets out there, so he's having to rush what he's doing. So I don't know if that's a combination of the two, because he was kicking fine last year with these guys, same guys.
Tucker is cemented already. I mean, it is.
Yeah, I'm like he's everybody's good for a down year, right?
8-time All-Pro.
Everybody's due for a down year. He's not even 40 yet, so I'm like, these guys got plenty of time to correct themselves.
And most of that,
the Ravens are
been a couple of blocks, so I mean, a lot of that ain't even his fault. So.
I think the Ravens aren't panicking about, we got to find another kicker other than Justin. I think the Ravens are we're good.
Yeah, they just got to fix the operations and give my man some time to
give him time to block. Yeah, just give him some time to block.
He'll be back on it. He's going to bounce back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think
most.
any other games. The Texans beat the Broncos. That was a good game actually towards the end.
Yeah.
Broncos. Oh, the Texans
won that game. Yeah.
Texans. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know that was a close joint. That was a really good game.
Russell threw a pick right at the very end of the game.
Like in
the end zone.
Russell's been turning it around, man.
Yeah, they had 5 straight wins going into that game. Yeah. 5 straight. They were 1-5, I think, before that, and then they won. Then they were now they're 6-6, but they're still right in the mix.
I'm not mad at that.
They're still in play for the division.
Yeah, they're still right now with the Chiefs. Now what? They're 8-4 or 9-4, whatever it is. Like they're only 2 games back. So I mean, they already beat the Chiefs once. They already beat them once.
Yep.
They beat the Chiefs earlier, so I think they play them again. So I'm like, this season's already crazy, right? I mean, we were talking about this first year possibly a quarterback may not win MVP. This is the first year we've seen in a long time. I think they said the last time Adrian Peterson was the last non-quarterback to win MVP, and that was 2012. Mm-hmm. So it's been a minute. So, but I will say, I think I've told people this: if Tyreek Hill cracks 2,000 yards, he needs to be MVP. You got to. No wide receiver in history. I mean, we're talking about some of the greatest players of all time. The only closest one was Calvin Johnson. I think he ended up falling like 30 yards short at the end. The greatest wide receivers of all time, like Lynn Swann, Jerry Rice, Terrell Owens, Michael Irvin. I mean, Randy Moss, and none of those guys cracked 2,000. If Tyreek Hill can break that record this year, you have to give it to him.
Yep.
You have to give it to him.
And I hope crack it against us.
I'm hoping. I'm hoping that we shut that down. The Ravens take it upon themselves. Like you may break the record, but it won't be this week. It won't be this week. You better do it week 18. It ain't gonna be this week. Let's get to it. I'll get to this real quick. I just want to rant for a little bit. The college football playoff.
Oh my gosh.
Fiasco. There have been numerous. I've watched different segments. There's been some on ESPN, some by the ACC network, especially because a lot of those guys are former either players or coaches in the ACC, so they had obviously a different view. Some on ESPN obviously had a different view about what was done. I remember I watched it live, and the first 2 were easy: Michigan and Washington. Okay, and then when they put the third team out, and it was Alabama, and I was like, I get it because they won the SEC title game, and that's college football committee values the SEC is the best conference in college football. So I think their obligation is whoever wins the conference championship for them is automatic bid to get there. But letting Texas in at the 4th seed, right? They listed the criteria, and one of the criteria was, well, if we determine that if they have enough injuries or if we feel like the team isn't the same or won't put out the same quality football, then it can't be the same kind of game we expect for the playoffs. So that could be a criteria in leaving a team out. Of course, Florida State's quarterback gets hurt, 2 or 3 weeks ago, out for the year. Florida still wins the last few games, going undefeated, winning the ACC title. First during the playoff, as long as the playoff has been around, it's the first time that a Power 5 team that's been undefeated did not get a playoff berth ever. First time since the playoff has started. And they made the argument, Jordan Travis got hurt, so it wouldn't have been the same game, they played. They were like, well, what was the point of the rest of the games? Like, what if the NFL did that? When the end of the NFL decided, Bengals, Chargers, Steelers, everybody that's got a hurt quarterback, y'all can't make the playoffs now. I don't care what your record is, you can't play in the playoffs now because your quarterbacks are not the same team. I'm like, what? It was sad too because you watched the video of like them at the facility in Tallahassee, and the coach and the players are watching this happen. They legit thought they were going to make the playoff. They thought, college football playoff committee won't do that to us. We're undefeated. We won our conference, won a championship. We're undefeated. Like they cannot not have us in the championship game. We were the number 14 going into this week, number 14, and won our game. So there's no way we can be put off our spot. And they kick them out. They kick them off their spot and put Texas in, who lost to Oklahoma earlier in the year, who I think finished the season unranked, or they finished like below and about 25 or something like that. Like, and Florida State's strength of schedule was like, I think, top 5. They had one of the toughest schedules in football, and they left them out. The other part of this was Georgia, who had been the number 1 team all season, like preseason rankings, went into the season number 1, lose 1 game in the SEC championship game, and don't get to second place, don't get third or fourth. They get knocked all the way down to 5th. Everybody was like, if you're going to put the 4 best teams in football, if the criteria for Jordan Travis is there, fine. It is what it is. It sucks, but it is what it is. But how can you not have Georgia in there? Like, seriously? How can you not have Georgia in there? That made no sense to me. But somebody on the AC network made a very good point. And who was they didn't go to any of the schools or I think they worked for ESPN, but they made a very good point. And they were saying is you have to remember the SEC has its own show and everything on ESPN. While ACC network broadcasts its games on ESPN, they don't really have their own show. They got Paul Feinbaum, who's a talking head for the SEC there, and all this other stuff. College Game Day, they have Alabama coaches and players on the staff and everything else like that. And they said it came down to who would they rather piss off, the ACC or the SEC? Because they were like, if Alabama had won the SEC championship and did not get into the playoff, there'd have been a whole stink from Nick Saban and the conference itself if they didn't let Alabama in. So they said, the guy was like, they basically decided, the ACC doesn't really matter. We don't really care about their revenue. We don't care about their dollars. We care more about the SEC. If we're going to pay Alabama in.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like it came down to. And if they break it down like that, I'm like, that's exactly what it sounded like. They sounded like Nick Saban was going to call crying to the college football committee about them not letting Alabama in and how extensive the Alabama fan base is across the country. And with the dollars the SEC brings in, they got the new schools coming in next year in 2024. Like, if I'm Georgia, though, we're back-to-back national champs. We're the number 1 team. Y'all not going to give us a chance to defend our title, and we were number 1 the whole season? If Alabama goes on and wins this thing, like, this would, to me, be one of the more, like, there have been a lot of years where you felt like illegitimate championships before the playoff thing even started. This would feel like real illegitimate. I think Alabama, if they go on to win this thing, cannot say they were the best team in football they didn't play Georgia in the playoff for the championship, for the title. That's my rant.
Yeah, it's and I don't have much on this. I'll leave y'all to it, but obviously it's always about the bread. It's always about what's going to get them the most ratings and this, that, and the third. I'm sure all that stuff plays a factor. But it sounds like some pretty egregious decision making that was made on that level. And I don't know if y'all saw the presser today, but Roquan Smith he held it in, but he was visibly upset about the whole Georgia thing.
Georgia, yeah.
About how they didn't make the top 4, pretty much every point that you just made, and how much of a disappointment that was, because it doesn't make sense. I mean, there was just the SEC championship game they were just in, and like to lose that game, it shouldn't weigh that much on them in terms of
No.
knocking them out of the complete top 4 when you look at, everybody else who's there, like they belong there. So yeah, I don't got much on it, but it's all about the money.
Yeah, it's rough. I don't know what the best solution is because I think Alabama should be there. I mean, they're a
No,
good
I agree.
team.
I just think Georgia should have been there too.
Yeah,
like
I think I'm just more mad at the system. Like, next year supposed to be a 12-team playoff,
12,
right?
yeah, 12 teams.
Yeah. So, I mean, what a better example of why we need that than this right here?
Yeah.
Because Texas has a good they have a good say so in this. They had the 13th hardest schedule. Alabama had the 5th. Georgia had the 37th. But granted, they lost one game and it was against Alabama. Close game, wasn't a blowout. If it was a blowout, totally could understand it, right? And then I want to knock Washington because they're Pac-12, but they had the 11th hardest schedule too, and they went undefeated. So, like FSU, yeah, they got done dirty. I guarantee you, Jordan Travis was still on the team; they'd be in there. And it's just hard, like because it's hard to figure out who you take out of this. It's very difficult. Well, I think we have a good playoff, but I don't think we have the best teams.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a large gap between the teams that didn't make it and those who made it, or the teams I think should have made it and the teams that probably should have been left out. There's not a huge gap, I think, in talent or just overall, how good the team is. It's just tough. It's tough. And the system sucks. I hate how they do it. I love the fact that we'll have a 12-team playoff. Honestly, just don't think that's enough. I think it should be a 24-team playoff. I mean, I think go all in, make all the bowl games a part of the playoff.
Quarterfinals, semifinals, make them worth something, right?
Because if I want to say something, my alma mater Liberty went undefeated and is in the Fiesta Bowl right now.
Number 23.
You know what I mean? Playing Oregon. And if we beat Oregon, we got an argument that we should be in the playoff, right? But it's just an imperfect system, man. Yeah, I just, they'll get better at it. I mean, this is better than the BCS.
Yeah, but, trying to figure out who's the top champion. Yeah, that was wild. But
baby steps, I guess.
With some of these, the stuff I've been hearing, it made it feel like when Jordan Travis got hurt, that gave the committee their out. Like once Jordan Travis got hurt, like I think even if he was healthy, they were trying to find a way to not have Florida State included. They wanted Alabama in there. And look, Texas is moving to the SEC next season. Archie Manning's probably going to be starting there. Whatever, the grandson is going to be starting there next season. Like there would have been a big push to make Texas again, keep Texas in the number 4 spot just because of, hey, it's a good preview what's going to look like next year. For the SEC. Mm-hmm. There was when Jordan Travis went down, that gave them their out. I think that gave the college football playoff, the committee, their out to keep Florida State out. Keeping Georgia out, that made no sense. They're number 1 team all year, number 1 team all season. And Alabama had 1 loss, but they win this title and get the playoff spot. So I'm like, it didn't make a whole bunch of sense to me. Now, some people are petitioning, especially for. I think you said Florida State and Georgia are playing in the Orange Bowl, right? I think they're playing in the Orange Bowl game. There's a petition. No, not a petition. There's been rumors going around that a lot of the players, I think Corey even says it in the comments, that some players may either be opt out who are going into the draft, may decide not to play, or what happened was to protest them not getting the playoff, may just not play the game. Like they may do the warm-ups and everything and go to the tunnel and just stay there. They won't go out into the field. They'll just not play. And then force ESPN's wasting all these media dollars and everything trying to broadcast the game, and players are we ain't playing. You ain't playing. Because like you guys have said, for the next year for the college football playoff, if you include the bowl games, that makes the bowl game mean something, right? If you're another team that's like you got a 7-5 record or 8-8, and you just barely made a bowl game. Great, you're playing for a bowl game. You're excited to be playing in December and January. But for Georgia and Florida State, who are expecting to play, who are the number 1 and number 4 teams going into before that Saturday ranking came out, we're like, we're expecting to play for the at least for the championship. I wouldn't say I wouldn't discount them either, whatever they decide to do, right? If they go out there and play and they beat the crap out of each other and one just like beats the other one by 30 and like, see, this is why we deserve to play in the championship game. And then there are other ones that was like, nah, we're not playing. Like for them, it's like, what's this Orange Bowl mean? Giving us a bowl of oranges to win and we should be playing for the national title.
Yeah.
Nah, especially from Florida State. Like Georgia, because they're the number one team and they have a loss in their record. But Florida State, we went undefeated, won our conference championship. We should be in the playoff. So if I'm Florida State, I'm like, I'm not playing. If I'm Jared Verse and the rest of those, I'm like, I'm good. I'll prepare myself for the draft. A couple players have already said they're not playing their bowl games already because they're getting ready for the draft and they don't want to get themselves hurt. So that would be very interesting TV if that were to occur and the teams decide to stay in the tunnels and not come out in the field if that were to happen. So protest the college football playoff. But all right, before we get out of here, let's move on to our Ravens-Rams preview, right? So Ravens are at home after their bye week. They've been chilling, they're back to the grindstones, so to speak, and they had their interviews today. I think Lamar was out there today as well, talking about getting ready for the rest of the season. They asked him about, the quarterbacks getting hurt, and he's like, you definitely don't like to see it. Lamar was in this situation the last 2 years. And now he's the only healthy AFC North quarterback playing right now. Starting quarterback playing right now. Knock on wood. And they're going in the roughest part of their schedule right now. They got the Rams coming up, and I think they got the Jags right after that. And the Rams, Jags, 49ers, Dolphins, Steelers.
Yeah.
So they don't have an easy schedule. They have the number one. I think the Dolphins have the number one seed right now.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. Okay. Yep. Dolphins are the number one seed right now. Ravens are number two. I think the Ravens, as of right now, are playing the Colts in the first round of the playoffs. But look, the Rams aren't a bad team this year. They've been playing above expectations for sure. Puka Nacua, I think he got hurt a little. He got hurt during that game, came back. He's been playing well all year. I kind of thought he was more like a fluke, to be honest with you. I thought he was going to play well for a few weeks, but he's been balling all year. So I'll give that man his credit. He's been playing really well all year. They found, I guess, somewhat of a running game now. I think now I can't remember the running backs they got there now. Is it Tariq Robertson or something like that? I think is the running back.
Very good.
Kyron Williams.
I got my name all wrong.
Yeah.
Kyron Williams, and like the running backs room in Los Angeles is like guys they just pulling off the street at this point. Like they don't really have a running back room. They just got guys hanging outside. Hey, you want to run the ball real quick? I don't know where to be finding these cats, man. But it's like they're at home. It's a 1:00 game, which is good for the Ravens. The Ravens got to play, after they played a fairly tight game against the Browns this past week. So they got to come and play on grass. I think, going forward, like you said, Travis, I think in our last show, that hopefully, I know the players were off, but, Monken and the quarterback coach and wide receiver coaches and, including Mike McDonald on defense and them are working on schemes and stuff that, not necessarily for this game, but the weeks coming up, right? They're going to be facing some of the best offenses and the best defenses the NFL has to offer in the next coming weeks. So, this will be a good tune-up game for them before they go play the Jags, especially, depending on the Trevor Lawrence situation. And I think Christian Kirk is hurt right now. He's got a core muscle injury, I think they said.
He's gonna be out for, I think he said
maybe a year.
AFC Championship or something.
Okay, if they make it that far. Okay. So, yeah, they're down two of their best guys, but, still got Travis Etienne. But going into this game, I think for the defense, the mission stays the same. Matthew Stafford is not known as a mobile quarterback. So I think that provides, ability for Clowney and Madubuike, especially to maybe provide a lot of pressure, especially the way Clowney's been playing and Madubuike's been playing. I guess to ask you guys this, do you think the break has helped? Would you think the break will help or has hurt the Ravens because depending on these breaks and when they happen, sometimes players can get a little bit lethargic, or players can kind of get off the rhythm. They were in a rhythm for a while, right? They were in a rhythm for about 12 weeks, and that stopped. Do you think that they keep it rolling going into this week against the Rams, and maybe that and more so helped them because they were allowed to get healthy and get refreshed for this game?
I think I do think that the week off came kind of at a perfect time. I do like the late bye. I understand we were definitely kind of on a roll, but at the same time, it's not like we were really performing the way we absolutely should be performing. Like, we were getting wins, we were winning games, but at the same time, we weren't winning in the fashion that we probably would have liked in all those games up this during the stretch. So I think it was still a lot of good extra time to get guys healthy. We know Odell had that shoulder issue. It was a perfect bye week for him because he's about to go play the Rams team that he won the Super Bowl with, and this is kind of like an alert game for him. Like, watch out, he might go off this week.
They just named him captain too for the game.
Right.
For that
Depending
game.
on the situation, he's going to be the captain of the game. The only thing is, like I said, we just kind of have to wait and see. The only real benefit I saw that I'm hoping for is, and we talked about this last week with Ronnie Stanley and that old line. Hopefully they can get it together. It's going to be a nasty game. Apparently, they're expecting a lot of rain, unfortunately, in this game. A lot of heavy winds, so it might be one of those games where we might just have to gash them on a run, and hopefully we can, accomplish that. That might kind of bode well in our favor, seeing as though that the Rams have been throwing the ball so well, like as of late. Like, I think they have like one of the top passing attacks in the league at this point, just out of nowhere. So that's going to be, one of the things we're going to have to look out for. And as far as like you said, Nacua, he's just been like probably the most productive target in the league. Just with as many catches he gets a game. He's kind of like, outshining Cooper Kupp at this point, like just with all of the playmaking ability that he has, and he's just always, near the football. So, just kind of putting the lid on that. And another thing, you touched on the pass rush. I think this might be one of the weeks where pass rush is going to be super critical because apparently the Rams, they haven't really been giving up any sacks. They gave up like maybe one sack in the last 2 weeks, and most of the teams we've played, that has not been the case. So I think, in our pass rush, I do think it's solidified. Like we know what we got. I think we can perform like that against any team in the league. But this will be kind of another test, like to kind of reevaluate ourselves after the bye. Like, what are we looking like? Are guys seeing fresher, which I think they'll come back fresher. I like that John Harbaugh gave them just a week off so they can just disconnect from the game and get back to their families, rest up, heal up, whatever they had to do. And from what it looks like, they came back and they're back at practice and everybody's locked in like they never left. So I think the bye week came at the perfect time, and I think we pick up where we left off. But hopefully, the fact that they got the getaway and now that they're back and they can kind of fine tune some of those things that we kind of lacked at. Like, we've had all of the little things. Pass blocking has been crucial. Our secondary has been pretty much lights out. We've been looking really good in that department. Our pass rush has been looking good. Defense has been looking good all around. We had the little blunder with the running game. So stuff like that, like just because we had a game that we didn't really do bad in the run game, run defense, is still something that you want to button up because it's still been an issue. So it's not nothing you want to let slip away because it probably will be a little bit more running in this game depending on the weather. So not concerned in this game. I'm glad we're coming off the bye week. Our record historically is really, really good after a bye. This is probably the first time we've had a bye this late, though. But I think it's still going to bode in our favor. So I think we'll be good. The pressure on Matt Stafford, and he'll fold like the rest of them.
Yeah, I think the bye week will be good for us. What I'm hoping for is that, these fringe guys who are struggling due to injury were able to recover. And I'm just going to be blunt. I'm just hoping Ronnie Stanley becomes serviceable coming out of this bye. I'm hoping that the rest really, helps him recharge and whatever's going on with his ankle can be better because we just need him to be serviceable. We don't need all pro Ronnie at this point. That's not coming back. but a serviceable left tackle, the guy that is not the weak link on the line. Um, I'm excited to see how the wide receivers come out of this. I know Zay and Odell, they kind of like limped their way into the bye week. They were battling injuries. I know Marcus Williams is still hanging on by a tendon. So I'm anxious to see how these guys come back. If they come back feeling better, are they able to do more? But my main concern is just with the coaching staff. I mean, I hope they spent this bye week really figuring out what our identity is going to be on offense. Like I said last week, we haven't figured it out yet. We haven't. I want to see us establish that this week and begin to really build that momentum and start to get to the place where we're peaking going into the playoffs. I don't think we've peaked yet. I think we've had some good games, but we've been very inconsistent. So I'm hoping we come out of that in just a better place. We know what we want to do. We're getting the ball to our playmakers. We're establishing Keaton Mitchell as a threat, a consistent threat in this offense. And that's what I want to see from them as a coaching staff. I want to see Harbaugh more in tune with this team. I want to see his influence more on special teams. That's what I want to see coming out of this bye. Now, as far as the Rams, I think we'll come out and we'll do our thing. I mean, they're scary with the way they're running the ball and throwing the ball because they've been pretty strong running the ball as well. Mm-hmm. So I fear the run more than the pass because I think the way we're set up, we can force Matt Stafford into some mistakes if he wants to get the ball out quick or he wants to, they want to throw the ball 30, 40 times. I think we have the defense that can handle that. But I'm really scared about how we defend the run, us getting gashed by Kyron Williams and Royce Freeman. It's a little scary to me. But I think we'll be able to handle them as a defense. Offensively, I think we can just run the ball right down their throats. They're so susceptible to the run. I think we can run the ball right down their throats, hit them over the top with the pass. But I think overall, I think we can just ground and pound our way to victory. So I think that's got to be the game plan. But most importantly, and I think I say that I've been saying this every week, and I blame Miles for it. This has the potential to be a Harbaugh game. And this actually really does have the potential to be a Harbaugh game.
Yep.
Because they're a 6-6 team. We've been feeling ourselves. We've been on break. Granted, we do well coming out of the bye, but any game that is not a big game has the potential to be a Harbaugh game, I feel at this point. So, I hope that the coaches got them prepared. The coaches have been locked in, working on what they had to work on coming out of the bye. And I just hope that we're healthy. I haven't seen any injury reports, so I'm not totally sure. But, like I said, come out of the bye, healthy, identity, playing hardball, and, we should be successful.
So I'm looking at the injury report right now. Matty BK is on there because he had the concussion from that last 2 weeks ago. So I'm not sure if he's still in protocol. They haven't addressed that yet. So he was limited today.
So he practiced today.
He practiced.
Okay.
Yes, he was limited, but he did practice. Pepe Williams might be coming back off that ankle, so he may be another serviceable secondary body they can use. Marlon was a full participant today as well. Notable names that were not on the list. Marcus Williams was not on the list. Odell Beckham not on the list. So full participant there. Rashad Bateman was dealing with the illness, but I think he'll be fine for the game. So the Ravens, based on his injury report, did get healthy over the week during this bye week, so that was really good.
Nice.
I was going to mention that, Travis. Like the 6-6, I'm looking at the rankings for this Rams team. They're right in the middle. They're like 14th, 15th in every category almost. They're number 5 when it comes to not allowing sacks against their quarterback, so they're good for that. On the flip side, though, they don't get a lot of sacks themselves on defense.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Ravens offensive line could use this as a tune-up game for themselves, getting themselves right before they go play the Jags the week after. other than that, I think I'm trying to think what I saw here. Yeah, they're middle of the road pretty much at rushing TDs. They're number 9. They average like one rushing touchdown a game. Number 13 in yards per carry. Like, yeah, they're literally right in the middle of the road. Almost every statistic, which is recipe, as you said, Travis. This is a recipe for a hardball game. This is a recipe. The weather's going to be bad, right? They're not going to be able to do what they want to do. Corey mentioned, I think, in the comments that they like to do like some of these edge stuff with their wide receivers, give them the ball like in space, that they used to do with Robert Woods. So I like to do that as well. So they got to watch out for that. Now, I will say on the defensive side of the ball, I don't think I'm worried as much. Mike McDonald seems to have a good grasp on game management and making adjustments when he needs to during the game to keep those guys involved. Even with the bad rushing, they allowed the rushing attack the last week or whatever, the last couple weeks. They still been able to. It hasn't killed them, right? It hasn't killed them yet. And so I'm not afraid of that on that side. Now, on the offensive side of the ball is, again, we saw a little bit what we expect to see from this Andrew-less offense, right? Likely he's going to get the ball a little bit more. He's making plays in space. He's a tight end. He's a wide receiver in a tight end's body because he doesn't run he doesn't make moves like a tight end, right? When he gets the ball, like he runs like a wide receiver. Like he's real shifty. He can get past the first guy. He can make plays, middle of the field. So that's really good to see. Like you guys have said, the play calling has to get better, right? That toss play to Gus Edwards on 3rd and 1 can't happen anymore.
Especially not against Aaron Donald.
Yeah, right. It's like if you got Aaron Donald up the middle, you find where 99 is, right? And it's like, okay, let's not run at him.
Yeah.
Period. I don't care who's blocking him. Not running Aaron Donald. Like the gameplay management has to be a little bit better. The personnel, understanding who's on the field, right, or who needs to be on the field on offense, right? We said this, I think, after the game against the Chargers, like, Bateman needs to get the ball throughout the game, not just the first quarter. Now, he doesn't get 4 targets in the first quarter and doesn't see the ball the rest of the game. And I think, like you were saying, Travis, over the top, I got to see it. It's the plays have been there. They just haven't capitalized on. Yeah. And I don't know if, like I said, the weather could change from now until Sunday, so we don't know. But if it's available, and I think the Ravens will take some shots downfield. They got to start getting that together now. Mm-hmm. They got to start getting that together now because I feel like that could be if they get knocked out of the playoffs or before they are expected to. Let's even they get past the first week, if they get knocked down in the divisional playoff round or the conference championship round because they didn't take advantage of the deep shots when they had them. And I think, like I said, Zay has been there. Keaton had one. It's there. Like the Nelson Aguilar one, it's there, right? They're all there. They just haven't been able to capitalize on them. And I'm hoping that starts this week. If they can start I think I said that after the Chargers game when we did our episode, or bye week episode last week. If they can start capitalizing on those deep throws, it's a wrap.
Yeah,
it's a wrap. That always has a whole nother element to this offense because now you can't keep guys in the box or playing 10 yards in these zones. Now you have to worry about guys going over the top. Odell catch one. Rashad Bateman. I think Corey said it last week too in the comment. He's like, I'd like to see Rashad Bateman get some deep throws too. Bateman can do that. We've seen it before. They just don't utilize it a lot. They keep using him on these little comeback routes and these little stop routes and stuff like that, right? We need to see a little bit more of this offense turning up a little bit. It needs to hit another level. And with the Chiefs playing the way they're playing and their wide receivers can't seem to catch the ball, they have the worst drop rate in football right now. You're looking at the Steelers losing their quarterback and Kenny Pickett, and their offense not playing well. The Bengals aren't playing well. The Jags lose Trevor Lawrence for an extended period of time. Like the window for the Ravens right now to get to the Super Bowl, I'm not necessarily win it, but to get to the Super Bowl has never been more clear. Like it's never been more clear now. Like this was, if there's any time for the Ravens to get to the Super Bowl as the AFC representative, it is now. It is lining up for them to do that. They are the healthiest team right now in the AFC for the most part, I think outside the Dolphins, and they're one of the better teams they've proven on both sides of the ball. If they don't make a deep run in the playoffs this year, considering how bad Mahomes, not necessarily how bad Mahomes has been playing, but how the Chiefs have been playing overall, because that's what it was going to determine, right? If the Chiefs aren't hosting the AFC Championship game, everything is. All possibilities are available at this point.
Yeah.
All possibilities are available at this point. Because I'm not afraid of the Bills. Even though the Dolphins have a very high-flying offense, we've seen them get taken down. We've seen them get taken by the Bills. Bills did it after they dropped 70 on the Broncos. So they're everybody is gettable this year. Everybody's gettable this year. Even the 49ers, after they lost to the Cowboys, lost 3 straight games. So I'm like, everybody is gettable this year. This is the perfect time for the Ravens to make it to the Super Bowl. Yeah. If they don't do it this year without everything is played out right now, I think some heads need to roll. Like if they don't make it this year, like you had one of the best offenses you've had ever with Lamar Jackson. Their defense is playing at historic levels right now. If you guys don't make it to the playoffs, considering the cap hell they're going to be in next season, they're going to be losing like Matabike and Geno Stone and Odell. Even if you want to bring Odell back maybe for another year, but you're going to lose a lot of guys, especially on the defensive side of the ball. This is the time. Time is now. Time is now. So I'm like for this game especially, I think I also say this. I will say this too. I think Lamar needs to utilize his legs a little bit more for the rest of the season. I think there's too many times where he's been sitting back there in the pocket holding the ball too long. He either just needs to throw the ball away or just go. But I also think too, defenses like he's looking at it, and defenses are like, well, he's not taking off, so we're not going to worry about spying him or whatever. He's going to be sitting there. They're after the few weeks they're watching film like Lamar's not running when there's been opportunity to run. He's not running. So it's like I think Lamar. I'm not saying do it like every other play, but I think pick your spots, right? If you see them giving you 7-8 yards and they're backing up, take 7-8 yards. Just get it. Mm-hmm. Then they have to. At this point in the season, going to the playoffs, it's a game of chess now. At this point, right? There's going to be one play here or one drive here that's going to determine how this game ends, right? And I think it's going to be important for Lamar to and I think for this quarterback, the coaches that he has and stuff, and Monken as well, to tell Lamar, look, forget about all the stuff, the media narratives and all that other stuff about you being a running quarterback. Forget all that. We're trying to win the Super Bowl here. If you raise that Lombardi trophy at the end of the season, I don't give a damn what they call you. You got to call you Super Bowl champion first. So I don't care what they say. So it's like if you go out there, if you run for average 80 rushing yards for the next 3 weeks, I don't care. But if the plays are there and they're not downfield, but you can still get 5 to 6, 7 yards each run, we're great. That's all we want. I don't need you to take off a 30 every time or 40 every time. If it's there, sure. But if you can get 5 or 6, slide, get on to the next play, bam. Let's keep this trend. We can't have what we saw in that Chargers game where they had these lulls, right? Where they had the offense look great that first drive, and then the next 3 drives were like, what the hell's going on? They were stalling out. And some of that, I think, was Lamar's looking for the 50-yard bomb downfield instead of just taking the 5 or 6, 7 yards that's given to him up front. So, before we get out of here, what's your score? Now, remind you, the Ravens only, what was it, 20? Was it 27 they scored or 20 last week? 2 weeks ago against the Chargers.
20. They
didn't score 30. I know that.
Yeah.
That's the first game in a while they haven't scored 30 points.
Yeah, it was 20 points.
Okay. So what's your scores?
I think this week, and I still think it is pretty high, but I'm going 27-17. I think considering it might be raining, but we're a good rushing team anyway, so it's nothing for us to put up points on the ground. I think we'll still squeak out, a passing touchdown somewhere in there. But I think we're going to do 27-17. I'm only giving the Rams 17 points just out of respect for the playmakers they got over there. One of them are going to make a play at some point in time, a big play. But outside of that, I think, I'm going to keep it around our average for points given up, which I think we average like giving up 15 points or something like that. I'll give him 17 just because of that kid Pakua, man. Like Puka, you throw it up to him, he's more than likely going to come down with the football. But outside of that, I think between Gus and Keaton, I think we kind of run them out of the bank. So 27-17.
Yeah, I'm a little close. I got 24-16. I think I don't think it's gonna be a big blowout. I think um, it's gonna be a little tighter than we want, but it's not gonna be that close. But 24-16, we're gonna run the ball. We're gonna make a couple big plays. Um, I'm kind of giving respect like you, Trey, over to Puka because he's a baller. And Matt Stafford's been playing hot, so they can get 16 points off of me. Um, so I'm gonna say 24-16, Ravens win.
Okay. Now I'm just checking here, looking at the Ravens points against NFC teams this year. So the NFC teams they played, they scored 38 against the Lions, 38-6, 37-3 against the Seahawks. The last windy game that they played well in was the one I was at, the Lions game. That was a windy game. Same thing. The field goal post was moving and stuff, and the Ravens put up 38 points. So, that being said,
Let's go.
I'm going to say
Let's go.
40.
Whoa,
40.
whoa.
40-10 Ravens. The Ravens have handled NFC teams this year. They play well against them, especially at home.
It's true.
That's what they've done to the Seahawks and to the Lions. And I think that the Ravens, after seeing what the 49ers did, after seeing what the Dolphins did this week against the Commanders, like the Ravens need to put everybody on notice, right? Everybody's been talking about the 49ers. They're talking about the Dolphins. They're talking about all these other teams, right? The Cowboys. They're like, Ravens need to remind the rest of the NFL, we here too. I know we didn't play last week, but we still out here. And
Yeah.
we that team too.
I like that.
And hopefully it's a reminder. They saw how the Steelers played this week. They saw how these other teams, the Eagles, struggled against the 49ers. Like this was last week. This last week, a lot of teams struggled against teams they shouldn't be struggling against.
Yeah.
All right. And hopefully that's a reminder. Like, look, I know this team is 6-6. They're right in the middle of the pack when it comes to the stats and everything else like that. But this is not a cakewalk. However, if we play our brand of football the way we have been at home, this game's over the game was over by the beginning of the fourth quarter. So I'm going to say 40-10 Ravens.
40 I'm for it.
40-10.
Real quick before we get out of here, I just saw a tweet from Adam Schefter. Panthers tight end Hayden Hurst's father, Jerry Hurst, he tweeted that his son has been diagnosed with post-traumatic amnesia by an independent neurologist based on a hit from November the 9th. So,
post-traumatic amnesia. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
I don't know, but I didn't realize it's been a month at this point. So once a Raven,
that's not good if he's having memory lapses like that. Like
So thoughts and prayers to him.
Yeah,
once a Raven, always a Raven, as we know. So hopefully everything works out. But I had no idea that was even going on. We don't get much news from the Panthers, obviously.
No.
Yeah, that's rough.
But that's why it's been out.
This reminds you that football is a violent sport. People that criticize these football players sometimes, and it's real easy to talk when you're sitting at home and it's 73 degrees in your house and you got a beer in your hand, you got chicken wings and nachos and stuff, and it's easy to talk about, man, these guys are suckers, man. They punks out here. They can't go out there when it's 20 degrees. These guys talking about they're playing like basically coming out of these games like this. It's car wrecks. Showing these black and blue bruises on themselves after these football games.
Yeah.
They go out there to do that each week, every week. Like it's rough out there. And so the way it's getting colder now, so these hits are going to be hitting a lot harder, for teams in the next few weeks. So, that's it for us. We'll catch you guys, next week. Hopefully the Ravens, get this W and move on to play the Jags and. May the yams be good to you. May the yams be good to you, from all of us here live from the hammock. So we'll catch you guys next week. Peace.